bring it in. Welcome back, everyone, to IAMHR Day 3. Happy to have you here. JD, we are broadcasting live not only on the platform that everyone can see the event, but also on LinkedIn and YouTube. So welcome. One of the things that I always love to encourage is chat in the conversation area there. So definitely let your voice be heard if you have any questions or anything like that. JD and I are happy to answer them. JD, what are we covering today? I know day 1, we did candidate experience. Day 2 was employee experience. What do we have on the slate today?
Well, first I want to get my daily woo in to wake everyone up out there. I know we just blasted out Justin's ears here listening on the microphone internally here. So today, Devin, you set up yesterday that today is all about the recruiter. You actually said it's a heavy dose of RX. Good pun. Again, the marketing advice is totally free. Recruiting advice, take at your own risk. So Devin, we have recruiter experience.
We do.
You know, we feel that we need to ensure we dedicate an entire day set of speakers, episode, getting the best practices, talking about for the folks who are really, really being pressured right now. I think there's not one organization we speak with where the recruitment team, whether you're a recruiter, whether you're a sourcer, a talent marketer, anyone in the process of that talent acquisition team, we don't know any company that team is not stressed to the max, short-staffed, hard to even hire recruiters right now. And so this day is dedicated to you. We couldn't be more proud of that. But we want to tell you, we're here for you. We understand the pressure you have and the critical role you play. Some of my favorite folks in this entire company here at Phenom is our talent acquisition team. And so we love you guys out there.
Yeah, JD, to sum that up real quickly, at times it feels like recruiters, they try so hard, they get so far. But in today's labor market, sometimes it feels like it doesn't even matter. So we are here to help today. We're going to talk a lot about AI, about automation, about campaigns, things to give you some time back in your day in order to be effective, have those really valuable conversations with candidates, attracting them to your organization, like we talked about on day 1 with candidate experience, and then having them stay for the long term on day 2, like we talked about with employee experience. But first, it starts with getting them interested, right? Getting them to apply, getting them that first step out the door and hopefully into your door at your organization.
Yeah, I think it's really important that when we talk about recruiters and we talk about all the stress everyone's under and whether it matters or not, Devin, their role, whether you go on Reddit and see all of these horror stories like the subreddit Recruiting Hell, where folks are just beating up their experiences about recruiters, recruiters get a bad rap and for no good reason. There are a lot of things within their control and they do that very well. And there's a lot of things in this hiring process, recruitment process out of their control. You had mentioned AI. And so for a long time now, what we've started seeing is wow, that's a tongue twister. Real world results around artificial intelligence, particularly around how AI is helping not just personalize the experience for folks, but help recruiters and sourcers actually determine who are some of the best fits. How can they use AI to do actually talent matching or self-discovery of recruiters or of candidates and talent that they really never knew existed who are right for the role. So there are key pieces around AI that actually make a big difference. It's not just all about a chatbot. It's not just all about whether you can facilitate the automation of screening and scheduling. But for high volume hiring applications, it is about those features, right? So depending on what industry you're in, what vertical you're in, what types of hiring you're trying to do for your company, the type of AI technology that you leverage as well as adding in the experience completely matters. And AI matters too. I don't think in this day we're going to get into the contextual modeling much. We're really going to hear from folks such as Thermo Fisher, KinderCare Education, these companies which are in the front lines of recruiting right now have their stories to tell. It's just not going to go super deep, super technical, but hey, we're always around to answer those questions.
Yeah, and AI has been a topic of conversation for a number of years now, JD, probably back to 2018, 2019. It's been that buzzword that's been around quite a bit. Enter 2020, flips our whole world upside down. all anyone can talk about is video interviewing and how video's role has really changed recruiters. No longer do you get that opportunity to meet someone face to face, to showcase your office and what a day in the life is like. So we're also going to dive a little bit into video and how lights, camera, action, you can turn that into quality candidates at a scale, in a scalable way, not just interview after interview after interview, but really reaching as many candidates as you possibly can. So lots to talk about today, but I know we are going to kick it off with AI, I believe, right, JD?
We're absolutely going to kick it off with AI. I want to throw a thank you, though, for the past 2 days. So if you're just joining us or just catching our feeds this morning or this afternoon, this evening, wherever you're at in the world, this is day 3. This is day 3 dedicated to recruiters. Day 1 was actually dedicated to candidate experience and candidates and technology that went into helping build and deliver an amazing candidate experience. Day 2 was all about that employee experience. And we had some amazing sessions. You heard from brands such as Newell Brands, Quadient, Southwest Airlines. I mean, these are brands we all know, and most of us love these brands because we use their products or their services every day. We heard from some guest speakers. We even heard from analysts such as Ben Eubanks of Lighthouse Research. So day 2 was pretty amazing, related to the content you could walk away from and take and apply. And so we thank all of our speakers for day 2. We also thank everyone in attendance. If Gambino is listening on the line like you were the last 2 days, I just want to say you're seeing us today. It's the same bat time. It's the same bat channel. Hopefully you get the references. Devin and I, JD, are your hosts for today, and we are going to talk about AI. So who's kicking it off and how's it going to go?
Today we have Benoit Hardy-Vallée kicking it off. Super excited about that. Super excited about JD. To quote Schoolhouse Rock, JD, 3 is the magic number, and day 3 is where the magic is going to happen at IAMHR. It is going to show you how to get everyone involved. Benoit is going to kick it off with automation as well as AI. So without any further hesitation, let's hear from Benoit.
Hi, everyone. My name is Benoit Hardy-Vallée, and today I want to talk about the augmented recruiter. When we look at the evolution of the role of the recruiter, we went from a headhunter to now a user, a savvy user of social media to hunt for talent. When we look at the evolution of that function, we know that they will play an instrumental role in our economies. Right now, 1 out of 5 of every hires goes through a recruiter. In some industries, it's 25%. When you look at that, in 1991, only 4% of employees were found and hired by recruiter. So clearly they are growing in importance. They have a deeper impact in how we find job. But is social media the final milestone? We don't think so. We know that AI automation is there to propel them to a next level. To quote Josh Bershon, today's recruiter must be a marketer, salesperson, career coach, and psychologist all in one. And it's not necessarily easy. Sourcing is a lot of work. Some research suggests that up to 13 hours a week could be spent only on sourcing for candidates. Now, if we think about scheduling, 64% of recruiters take 2 or more days to schedule an interview, and roughly the same quantity of recruiters need 3 or more emails and phone calls to schedule an interview. It's a lot of time spent in back and forth. It's a lot of time to find the perfect profile. But it's not like speed was enough. Time to hire, time to fill are key metrics. But nowadays, it's not enough, as we also expect quality and diversity. And most companies this year plan to review their diversity hiring practice and wants to improve the quality of hire. And you add to that the candidate experience. Because we use fantastic technologies in our daily life, technology that brought personalization, access, convenience, transparency, responsiveness to our daily lives, we now expect that system by which we source, hire, and recruit people will deliver the same level of experience. Incidentally, the demand for recruiter is now skyrocketing. When you think about that, there are more recruiters job advertised worldwide than software engineer's job. So we need to hire a lot of people. We need to have a lot of recruiter. Traditionally, the response has been to scale the size of the recruiting workforce with the demand in talent. That's a traditional model. And we don't think it's going to work. For one thing, there will be a shortage of recruiter. For another thing, the traditional way of working that relies heavily on goodwill, on energy, on manual tasks will go away because AI and other advanced technology can change how recruiters work. So meet the AI, the automation enhanced recruiter, what I would call the augmented recruiter. We're not replacing them. To the contrary, we want to make sure that they can keep contributing to their organization, but as a strategic advisor, as a business consultant, as a coach, not as a spreadsheet master. So what can AI do to help recruiters? Here are 6 examples. Number 1, the intelligent candidate discovery. Finding the right talent can take a lot of time. If you take a job that, say, receives 500 candidates, do you think that any recruiter could go through all of these 500? We all know what happened. Recruiters have time to scan through the resume, pick a few good ones, and hope that it will be a good hit. And that's normal. They're human. Time is limited. The hiring manager is waiting. They have to deliver on these expectations. But nowadays, with AI matching technology, we can have a system that look at all of those 500 applications. Traditionally, maybe only 10% were skimmed. Now, all of the 500 are reviewed by a human or a system. So at least we're giving every one of these 500 a fair shot at being considered. And we remove the tedious task of screening one by one each of these profiles out of the recruiter's plate. So now we can serve up the best candidate to recruiters and hiring manager. So out of these 500, if you only need to talk or screen or review 20, you can look at the 20 best one. And best only in terms of fit. We're not interested in looking at anything else but their skills, their experience, what they can do. Which brings another topic, the reduction of the bias. When you use AI technology, you are in a way conducting a blind taste test. You don't really know the skin color, the ethnic background, the gender, any other trigger, marker, signs of appartenance to a specific group. All that gets removed because AI technology only care about skills and experience, sometimes location, if that's a factor for the role. So by bringing this level of objectivity in the pre-screening, as I mentioned, we give everyone a fair shot. And at the same time, we make sure that we have only one wavelength, skills, what people can do. Another approach, another contribution of AI and automation is talent marketing, engaging candidates through multiple channels, whether it's email and WhatsApp, SMS. You can do that manually, but there's a good chance that you won't be able to productively share the information with all of your colleagues, keep track, and meaningfully engage all of these candidates. This is where automation can bring scale and personalization. We can now automate talent marketing email campaign being sent to candidate with a specific purpose in mind. What do they like? Where are they in the candidate life cycle? What job would they be a fit for? Automating that help recruiters be much more productive and wait to see if they get good returns on those campaigns. As we mentioned earlier, scheduling interview can be long, tedious. It's not an interesting task for most people. And now with automation, you can coordinate the calendars and the rescheds because we know that somebody somewhere won't be able to make it on time or will have a conflict or an important personal situation. These things are normal, they happen. It should not ruin everybody's hiring process or recruiter's work. So to make sure that we can handle those scenarios, now with automation technology, we can coordinate all of these events in one single system and ensure that the finding the right spot, this task, is offloaded to a system so that human can focus on the conversation they will have. Now, another aspect of AI technology is personalization. Creating unique experience for candidate has been a mark of luxury in many industries. But now with technology, you can understand whether somebody is a new visitor, a returning visitor, an applicant. You can understand where they are in the process, if they are engaged, if they have been loyal to their past employers. All of that data can be gathered in accordance with compliance laws and regulation. But by gathering all of this information, you can design the candidate experience in a way that makes it much more compelling for them. If it's the third time you're seeing a career site, should you be seeing the same content you've seen the first time? No. But would you want to have somebody managing the career site and make the update live just for you? Of course not. This is not how the consumer platform function. So we should have the same personalization at scale in career site. And this is what AI can bring. And then you have the ability to have insights or nudges. The idea that sometime if you have enough data, you can guide recruiter so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel. They don't have to rediscover patterns every day. So if you know that you need 30 applications for a job and you receive 40, well, you know that you have enough. But if the number was 50 and you only have 20, you know you need to get more. So that guidance can be fully automated. And the CRM, the platform, the system becomes a guide for the recruiter. So what is the new recruiter? What does the augmented recruiter will do with the newfound time? Well, as we would expect, and as research confirmed, when we start to use AI in recruitment, the recruiter, the talent marketer, and all of these different groups, they start to have more time to source for key roles because some of them takes more time, more insight, or more love. You have more time to connect with the key candidate. You can communicate with prospect in the hiring funnel. But if all the time you had was consumed by screening and scheduling, you could not build those relationships. So becoming a talent advisor, it means that you're no longer an order taker, so to speak. You can now provide market intelligence, candidate information to hiring manager. You can consult with data and inform your hiring managers about the best source of candidates, the drivers of attrition, the variation in attrition, the skills that are needed, the talent market, the best way to recruit fast. Because hiring managers typically have very clear deadline to get somebody on their team. As a talent advisor, as somebody who's equipped with data, as somebody who can work with a system that take care of most of the administrative and technical tasks, you have the time and the capability to provide this guidance. You can also advise on whether you should be hiring or promoting internally. There's a huge business case to hire people internally, grow their skills rather than going to market. You can also coach candidate. If there is a good candidate that has the right profile, the right talent, the right personality, you have time, data, and capability to guide them into progressing in their next step. So what it's like to be a talent advisor, how could you design that experience for a recruiting team? Well, it all started by bringing the focus on the hiring decision rather than the hiring process. It's about finding who should be a right fit rather than managing the step to achieve that. It's also attracting top recruiting talent because recruiters need to be recruited. They need to be attractive. And the promise of leading edge technology and collaborative work and being an advisor will be enticing. And you need the best recruiter these days because you're competing with everyone else. It's also about empowering the team with data. It's giving them the ability to progress and to have a more senior role. Actually, you should be tracking the average seniority or banding level within your recruiting team so that you can really attest as to whether they are progressing in seniority and if you can truly elevate the role of the recruiter. You can, and I would say you must, involve managers, hiring managers in marketing, because now that there's a lot more self-serve, they have to be at the forefront of the talent marketing. If a hiring manager posts a job opening on social media, that post will get 10 times more engagement than if a recruiter does that. A hiring manager that says, I need somebody on my team, and this is why it's a great place to work, that manager will get a lot of qualified applicant. It also creates new role within the talent acquisition function. Beside the recruiters and the sourcer, we now have the recruitment marketer, the talent acquisition technologist, the content strategist, the brand manager, the candidate experience lead. All of these different roles help the talent acquisition function brand and market itself, nurture and engage candidate. And really, it's applying the marketing playbook to the world of recruitment. And finally, to design a true talent advisor experience, you have to develop strong business case to grow the team and to add better, faster, more effective technology to your current stack. So what does the future look like? We know that there will be more and more video in recruiting, whether live video or synchronous video. There will be more automation. All the tasks that takes a click, that are a step, that are a friction, will progressively disappear and being replaced by automated process and insight about those processes. And finally, we can't miss that, but diversity and inclusion. It's not a feature, it's how the system should operate. The whole talent acquisition process should be inclusive and should be leading to a more diverse workforce. So increasingly, system will have to be accountable for these outcomes. I hope this gives you some direction. I'd be glad to answer any of your questions or interact with you in the future. From Phenom, it's Benoit Hardy-Vallée, and it has been a pleasure sharing some ideas with you.
Thank you, Benoit. Really appreciate kicking off day 3 here, specifically to recruiters. I know we talk a lot about how recruitment in the recruitment community needs to evolve, and it's all about the revolved recruiter. So there are things that AI are really good at, right? There are things that recruiters are really good at. And so we love to see how technology is allowing recruiters to start changing some of the behaviors that they've traditionally done, those behaviors of being able to quickly identify who the top fit talent are for positions, or, you know, pretty much instantly discover candidates that already exist within their ATS or HCM or their CRM. So that ability alone gives them more time to reach out to the right candidates who are better engaged with their brand, who are better fits for the role, to have better results in connecting, leading them to be able to have more meaningful conversations. And that's not even looking at the areas Benoit talked about chatbots, screening, and scheduling, which help automate a lot of the busy and mundane work of the hiring process. So we're really coming into this evolved age by being able to spend time, particularly recruiters, spend time on what they love doing most and where they have the most impact, and let AI, let other technologies help facilitate the automation of tasks that are more mundane and, quite frankly, aren't as interesting or impactful to the process. Devin?
Yeah, JD, you talked about the evolution there, and a lot of that is going to help add more, right? It's going to add more candidates to your pipeline. It's going to add, more qualified expectations, more ability into insights as to who would be a good fit for particular positions. But there's one thing that recruiters can't get more of, and that's time. So in our next session, we're actually going to talk about scheduling, which is always been a bit of a nightmare for recruiters, right? Finding time between hiring managers, the candidates' schedules change. All of a sudden, 2020 happens. And some of those conversations that you used to just have at your desk with quick questions turn into 15-minute meetings, turn into half-hour meetings, and scheduling becomes a complete nightmare. So in this next session, we are going to hear from Amy Ritter of Thermo Fisher Scientific about how they have augmented a bit of their scheduling and saved quite a bit of time throughout their days.
Hi, my name's Amy Ritter, and I'm the Senior Director of Talent Acquisition Operations and Enabling Solutions at Thermo Fisher Scientific. As with most operations roles, I tend to wear a lot of hats, but the hats I enjoy wearing the most are candidate experience and delivering scalable, efficient solutions for our talent acquisition team members. For those not familiar, Thermo Fisher Scientific is the world leader in serving science. Our mission is to enable our customers to make the world healthier, cleaner, and safer. Our global team of more than 85,000 colleagues help customers in finding cures for cancer, protecting the environment, making sure our food is safe, and are advancing thousands of important projects that will improve millions of lives. Within the last 18 months, many of those projects have been focused on fighting the global pandemic through the manufacturing of COVID testing, patient therapeutics, and vaccine production. From a talent acquisition standpoint, our team has been facing rapid and unprecedented growth in a very short space of time. Additionally, like everyone else, we're not shielded from the extremely tight labor market and all of the competition out there. These factors have meant that in 2021 alone, we will more than double our requisition volume and are forecasting to close more than 40,000 requisitions this year. We are finding that candidates are considering multiple opportunities at once and in some cases are entertaining multiple offers. Engaging experiences, recruiter productivity, and speed are critical for us like never before. We've had many projects focused on these areas this year, but I wanted to highlight a very recent project that allowed us to address all of these areas with one implementation. Last month, we piloted Phenom's interview scheduling assistant with our US recruitment team. The interview scheduling assistant creates a seamless, automatic, AI-powered interview scheduling experience within the Phenom CRM platform. Our global team has been leveraging the CRM for the past 18 months and have found tremendous efficiencies with the CRM, fit scoring, and campaigning capabilities. Rather than to continue to add new tools to our recruiters and coordinators' technology stack, it made sense to leverage the interview scheduling functionality right within the CRM, giving them a one-stop shop to engage with candidates and track their hiring progress. We know that candidates' expectations are not all that different from consumers' expectations. Consumers are accustomed to making reservations, booking appointments, or scheduling services online. Offering a similar experience for candidates to schedule interviews is a no-brainer. It allows us to provide efficient and frictionless experience to handle the administrative aspects of the process while conserving energy to focus on preparing for the interview itself. We decided to name our interview scheduling assistant Ruby after Dr. Ruby Hirose, a Japanese-American biochemist who made outstanding contributions to society, including her contribution to the development of the first polio vaccine. Ruby, through a direct API integration with our organization's Office 365 account, allows us to use automation to offer our candidates interview time slots based upon interview team members' availability. Additionally, Ruby allows us to manage interview-related communications by sending templated email messages, responses, and reminders. Ruby is able to accommodate rescheduling and cancellations by proposing alternative times for both interviewers and candidates. The results from our pilot are indicating that Ruby is helping us achieve our objectives of improving recruiter productivity and improving our speed to interview while maintaining a positive experience. More than 1,000 interviews were scheduled in August using Ruby, which accounts for almost 78% of all of the interviews scheduled in the past month. When comparing our August metrics to our July metrics, our time to get interviews scheduled improved by half a day, and our time to complete interviews also improved by half a day, making an entire day that we shaved off of our interview scheduling experience. Additionally, we have a goal to receive responses to all interview requests within 24 hours. Our 24-hour response rate also improved from 95% to 98% month over month, indicating that users are finding the experience positive and easy to use. As we have used the interview scheduling assistant over the past month, we've learned that the tool works best when there are 3 or fewer interview team members and is particularly effective for scheduling recruiter or hiring manager phone screens. For larger interviews, Ruby works best if there are predetermined blocks of time made available on team members' calendars. Lastly, developing scenario-based job aids are also helpful for ensuring strong adoption. We are considering the incorporation of SMS campaigns to build upon our already great results. However, given the early success of our pilot, we've already begun planning our global implementation of Ruby and are looking forward to bringing speed, productivity, and a great experience to all of our candidates.
Thanks, Amy. Before we jump into a quick little recap, I do want to thank everyone over at Thermo Fisher Scientific for all of the hard work that they're doing during this pandemic. It is not something that anyone anticipated, but it sounds like the hard work is beginning to pay off, right? We're starting to get through this. And I'd like to say some of that is through the saved time that they've been able to get the right people in the right places. Amy mentioned that they've saved over 24 hours, a full day of time.
Woo!
Ruby has accounted for 78% of the interviews that were scheduled in the month of August, which was 1,000. That's 780 interviews were done without anyone having to pick up a phone, without anyone having to email back and forth, without last second changes. It's truly amazing, and it is really paying off for Thermo Fisher. And I think as they continue to roll it out and continue to use it for some of those higher volume meetings that they mentioned, they'll continue to find great success.
Yeah, I think it's pretty awesome when you see that technology has been applied to get back time or to automate something that can make such a significant difference, and it goes successfully. But with that, and Amy didn't get into too much of this, but they could have written an entire new playbook of how, when they're doing this automation, they needed to change, adapt, or adjust their own environment and what it's used to. She started getting into those tips, what they found, Devin, to be kind of most useful or change. They could write a whole book on this now, right? So we've got another great session coming up, and it's from a gentleman that I've met in person at a physical event before. It feels like physical events are not here, and they're not, except for HR Tech happening next week. I will be there. I'd love to spend some time with anyone who's listening today and is also going out to HR Tech. But Derek Murphy Johnson, I've met before, awesome person, and he's got a really critical role for KinderCare Education. He's their senior talent attraction manager. And what Derek wants to talk about is how do you hire within 24 hours? So he's going to say how to hire within 24 hours and optimize the ROI. And I'll give you a little teaser. It's not one piece of technology. It's taking career sites in their CRM and adding some AI and automation, combining that together to run really amazing and impactful events. So this next session is all about events and how you can hire within 24 hours.
Hi, everyone. I am Derek Murphy Johnson, and I lead talent attraction for KinderCare Education. KinderCare Education is the largest early child care education provider in the U.S. And some of the brands that you may know that are under our umbrella are KinderCare Learning Centers, Champions Before and After School Program, and KinderCare at Work. So think of us, we're in your communities and your neighborhoods and at work providing high quality early child care to all of your kiddos. Our organization, we have nearly 40,000 employees across the country, and we operate more than 2,000 locations in 41 states. Like many of you, hourly recruiting has always been a challenge. Adding COVID to it, it's become even more complex. In today's climate, it's all about speed, and I will share with you how we've utilized Phenom People's hiring event feature, their CRM, and other tools to help us rebound post-COVID and be able to hire a large amount of people, all without adding additional work to the recruiting teams or our hiring managers. Today, I will show you how we use hiring events to hire hourly workers at scale and show you how we've used our hiring event strategy, communication templates to stay organized and to keep our candidates engaged. Like many of you, COVID impacted our organization dramatically. We closed most of our locations and only had a few hundred locations open that were used to support essential workers. As restrictions started to lift and we were able to open back up, we had a lot of hiring needs that our recruiters and our hiring managers weren't able to support by themselves. And so my team at the time was myself and one other person. And so as we started to reopen and start hiring again, we needed to find out a way that we could solve this need of hiring mass amounts of people. Rebecca and I on my team, we looked at the hiring events in Phenom, and building a hiring event in Phenom is easy and quick. We built a couple templates using our branded images and created communication in our events to tell candidates why they should join KinderCare and the benefits of participating with our virtual hiring events. Following COVID, our organization adopted WebEx and Zoom, which is what we use today when we're doing virtual interviews. We also needed a way to stay organized. And initially, we tried email and Slack to take in hiring event requests from our managers and our recruiters. But as you can imagine, that quickly got overwhelming for a team of 2. So we utilized Smartsheet, which is a database, and we created forms for the hiring managers and recruiters to request hiring events. And on the back end, Rebecca and I had a database that we could use to know what events we needed to build out. And that's how we stayed organized in communication with our candidates. So once we got hiring event requests in Smartsheet, we utilized one of the hiring event templates that we created in Phenom, and we create the hiring event on our career site utilizing the CMS. From there, we engage our previous applicants for whatever area. So we'll take a look at where the hiring manager is requesting support, and we'll go into our applicant tracking system and we'll extract candidates in a certain mile radius from wherever the hiring event was requested. Utilizing Phenom's CRM, we have several different communication templates that we use. And initially, we send out a hiring event email to all of the candidates that had previously applied to us. In addition to engaging our past applicants, we also utilize Google AdWords and Facebook targeted ads to share the hiring events to external applicants as well. To advertise the hiring events on Google, we use Google AdWords. And so I will use Google keywords to find out what candidates are searching for in the specific areas of the hiring events related to teacher hiring. And then we will use a small dollar amount to create dynamic ads using images and videos. And we'll use the same type of strategy for Facebook targeted ads. We will use Facebook targeted ads to create a audience and start advertising our hiring events on Facebook and getting our hiring managers to share that out on social as well. Once we get our advertising strategy built out and activated, as candidates come into the hiring event and start registering, we utilize a recipe, which is a way to send a message to candidates based on action they take in your system. So as candidates come in to register for the hiring event, they will get an automated message 2 hours after they register. And we will ask them to select an interview time. And then also, if we are doing a hiring event for a larger geographical area, we may ask what specific city that they're interested in or what location that they're interested in, or potentially what type of age range of children that they have experience with. From there, we utilize the event feature that changes the steps and statuses of candidates within Phenom's event module. So as candidates come in and register, the system automatically puts them in one status. As they respond to us and letting us know what time they'd like to interview and location, we go into the system and we select them as they're scheduled, or we may be communicating to them, and we'll change the status as in progress. On the CRM side, we've created several different templates related to the hiring events, where based on if we're in the process of scheduling them or if they've already been scheduled, we have several different drip messages that go out to the candidates based on where they are in that hiring event status. So if they come in and they're registered and they have an interview time, we will send them less messages leading up to the hiring event about engagement, because we've already got them locked in. But we know that in today's world, time to engage and time to connect with your candidates is critical. And so those candidates that are already registered, they're getting more information about our culture, what our employees love working at KinderCare. For the individuals that haven't selected interview times with us, utilizing some templates that we've already built, we send them a series of drip campaigns that start off just making sure that they know that they needed to select an interview time with us. And then those cadence of messages increase as the hiring event gets closer. As candidates are letting us know when they are available to interview with us, we are creating a Excel sheet that we share with our hiring managers and schedule time for them to interview on their calendars. As we get closer to the event, 24 hours prior to the hiring event, we send another message to all the candidates that are scheduled for the hiring event, making sure that they are confirmed, they don't have any questions, that they have all the technical information they need, and they're excited to engage with our hiring managers. On the same time, we are sending emails to our hiring managers with a list of candidates that are scheduled to meet with them, what type of children that they have experience with, if we've received that information, or what type of what area that they are interested in working. We engage our managers and let them know to connect with the candidates right away. Hiring events are great to be able to hire quickly, but you got to keep the candidates engaged. And hearing directly from the hiring manager, we found is key to retention. Once somebody gets into a hiring event and hears from that hiring manager before the actual event, they're more likely to stay engaged leading up to the event the next day. So we tell hiring managers, reach out to the candidates, send them a text message, let them know that you're excited to connect with them the next day. And from there, we send out a text the next morning, making sure the candidates are ready. Following the hiring event, after the hiring event's completed, we send out a survey to the candidates that either attended the hiring event or registered for the hiring event and didn't participate. We want to know why they registered for the hiring event and didn't participate. And then if they did participate in the hiring event, we want to know if they had a great experience. And if not, how can we do things better? From there, we also survey our hiring managers just to make sure that the hiring managers found the event useful and successful, and were able to support their hiring needs. So let's talk about results that we get from our hiring event. So hiring events are ultimately depending on your employer reputation in the area that you're having a hiring event. But one of our hiring events that we did this spring, we advertised for the hiring event, as I shared on Google and Facebook, and engaging our past applicants. But in a course of a week and a half, we had over 160 applicants that registered for a hiring event. From there, we had 79 that actually interviewed with us, and we ended up hiring over 40 of those people that interviewed with us for critical positions in our daycare centers. In today's world with COVID, we're all asked to do more with less. And in many cases, recruitment marketing or talent acquisitions, our budgets are competing for several different initiatives and strategies. We're able to do hiring events, advertise them on Google, advertise them on Facebook, and be able to hire 30, 40 people at a single hiring event with spending less than $50 in advertising and any type of cost. The great thing about hiring events is it gives power to the hiring managers without having to take weeks to hire. Within 24 hours, they can hire several people and being able to staff our centers, giving that peace of mind and also creating a great experience for our parents and our teachers. If you're considering how to scale hiring events or how to hire hourly at scale, I would highly encourage you to look at the hiring event feature with a Phenom. It's super easy to use. You don't need to have a giant team. Again, my team, there's 2 of us supporting 40,000 people at any given time. So if we can do it with 2 people, you can do it.
Always a pleasure, Derek. Thank you so much for presenting. I really love how you've taken and talked to us about taking a tried and true method, which is doing events, adding the technology now to keep it organized, to give you visibility, to create feedback loops, and turning that into tremendous hiring events. I think you highlighted one of those events alone produced over 40 hires, which is incredible. And it's great to hear the results you're having. A couple things that I wanted to bring out in his presentation. He mentioned using campaigns, and it wasn't just your traditional email campaign. He talked about, Devin, text messaging and text campaigns. So this is using all the available tools you have within your existing CRM and making sure you're reaching out and connecting with the folks who are, you're trying to get to attend the event, but also the folks who already registered for the event, making sure you're encouraging that connection so they do show up at the event. But he recognized, well, not everyone showed up to the event, which is normal. So let's just ignore them. Like, we don't care about them anymore. They did not come to our event. That is absolutely not what he said. He said, we care about reaching out to the folks who didn't attend to ask them why they didn't attend, or to give feedback on that and reconnect with those individuals. And he went a step further and he talked about the folks who did attend, getting feedback directly from them on how the event was. How else do you improve your events and keep connecting with possible candidates in great fit hires if you're not reaching out and giving the means that are leveraging technology so you can scale and make that happen? So I really, really love the session because of the balance between the human areas of what recruiters are really good at and necessary for, but yet leveraging the technology to scale and automate the processes.
JD, you're absolutely right. It was a fantastic session. However, I do have to say this next session might be my favorite of the day. And the reason is we're talking video. And that's not just because I have never seen a camera that I don't like, right? This is because video is truly changing the game when it comes to recruitment. It's something that we're accustomed to on a daily basis. We're coming to you live right now via video, yes, right? Typically, this would probably be an in-person event. So for this next session, we have a dynamic duo talking about video. We have Luba Bogdanovich, as well as Sebastian Hoosty. Now, you may be asking, Devin, why do you sound like an NBA announcer right now? And that's because this super team is changing the game the same way LeBron and the Lakers did just a few years ago. They are going to talk everything video, how to really change the game when it comes to it, and what really lights camera action is all about behind it. So with that being said, I will hand it over to Luba and Sebastian.
Hi, on behalf of all of us here at Phenom, I'd like to welcome you to our session today on video interviewing and how video is changing the interviewing game. In the session today, we're going to cover a number of different topics related to video interviewing and how it has impacted the recruiting and the HR function within the talent experience. I'm joined today by my colleague, Sebastian Hoost, and I'm going to turn it over to him to introduce himself. Sebastian, over to you.
Thanks, Luba, and hello, everyone. So excited to talk about video recruiting today, as it has been a topic that I was concerned with, pretty much the most time of my career. So yes, as Luba said correctly, I'm the co-founder of TalentCube. It's a video recruiting solution, which ended up to be one of the most popular and the most well-rated video recruiting solutions, and which is now a part of the Phenom tech stack. So yes, video recruiting has become even better, and I'm going to answer all your questions, Luba, today, which you have around video recruiting, why video recruiting, where video recruiting is going to. So
excellent, that's awesome. I'm so excited for the conversation. And I at Phenom spend a lot of time with customer success, working with our customers, helping them ultimately make sure they get the best return. And so video interviewing is a key component, as I said, to the recruiting experience. And interestingly enough, Sebastian, I don't know whether you know this or not, but in 2020, Gartner, in a study that they did, found that 86% of organizations were including video interviewing in their hiring process. A vast difference from when I was still recruiting and when I was actually running a desk where video interviewing was not an option for us. So I'm very excited about our conversation today. So let's get right into it. Why video for HR? Why is video so important in the HR world today?
Yeah, happy to tell you. Actually, I don't know about this Gartner study before, but I can very well imagine, because we've seen a tremendous rise at TalentCube with the demand on video recruiting in the past year. And we all know why it is, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it in a second. But before we do the second step, why video recruiting was the question. And when we talk about video recruiting, it's typically a big term. And most companies understand on-demand video assessment and live video assessment. Or I think in the English world, you would say one-way video interviewing and two-way video interviewing, where you either have a face-to-face conversation, like the two of us now, or where you have like people answering questions via video, independent of time and place. This is what we call one-way video interviewing, which has been tremendously successful for us in the past couple of years. One reason being it saves a lot of time and money. Just think about it. There's so much stuff you would only see when you hear someone talk, when you see someone move, which you cannot convey in a motivational letter or in a CV, be it language skills, be it certain personal characteristic, all these things you need some sort of conversation for, and make that timely, efficient, and effective. This is what people use one-way video interviewing for. Also, and you should not underestimate that, it really helps to bring the team together. You can much better collaborate with your hiring managers, because if you have a piece of video attached to a CV somewhere in your system environment, you can way easier talk to each other and say, hey, what do you like about a certain candidate and what not? So you're much faster. You are much faster in a position to also make the top candidates a valid proposal, and which actually to the third main advantage that we've been seeing in the past years. It is, if it's done right, it can create an incomparable nice experience towards your candidates. This is also the thing where we saw, video recruiting providers, where the wheat separates from the chaff. It's like a lot of companies don't walk the extra mile when it comes to user experience. They underestimate that people don't have always great internet connection, that they might use older technologies. So if you really want to see, hey, what is a good video recruiting solution, what is maybe not so good, you should really put yourself into the shoes of your candidates and really get a feeling, is that how I want my employer brand to be represented? And one thing, and this is where I hand over to you then now, is what most people underestimate is the fact, if you invite someone for a one-way video interview, most people do it for the first time. You don't learn at school, like you learn how to write a CV or stuff like that, but you don't learn how to perform in front of a camera. It's a very new, unique situation. So you have to have a mechanism where the candidate is taken by the hand, is prepared for the process, gets the chance to chat and get support right away. Otherwise, we've seen a couple of times when our customers came from other video recruiting providers. This is, where you might create a gap, which would be sad, because video as a technology is super, for all participants, if done well.
Sebastian, that was interesting. The points that you made around time, around better collaboration, helping candidates through that process. Our world obviously has changed. It's a very different world than it was even 20, 24 months ago, if you will. So why now? Why is video interviewing such a key component to the recruiting process today?
Well, because everything that has worked in the past very well now works much better. So what has happened in the past 18 months, I don't have to tell anyone, COVID changed the whole game. How we interact with each other, and also, how we get a new job. So for many enterprises, it turned out that video is not just nice to have component that we test here or there. It has become actually a crucial process to continue hiring, because, not all companies stopped hiring just because there's this pandemic. It definitely changed the game, how we communicate. And finally, there was a solution like ours, which is technically proof. It's proof from a legal and from a data point of view. So there's a lot of things you didn't have to consider. And we had a lot of companies who said, hey, I need this now. Can you do this? And this is super interesting, because over the past 18 months, we also see video has become a commodity to a lot of people. So also for the candidate side, there is much higher expectations and standards around quality. There's much less hesitance to put yourself in front of a camera. It has become the new normal, video. So having video or not having video has become, from my point of view, a competitive advantage in the war of talent altogether. So if you fail to have a video strategy, you might lose some candidates because you don't get them in time, because people who use video for recruiting are faster. They have shorter times to hire, and they can give candidates a job proposal much earlier than other companies.
You talked a little bit about the impact and the returns, quicker turnaround times, better engagement with potential candidates. Obviously, the impact through COVID is self-explanatory. It's self-evident. Let's talk a little bit more about the impact and the returns. What else, from your perspective, can recruiters expect to gain from it for employers, for job seekers?
That's a good question, because in fact, video brings a lot of advantages to every participant. And the main advantage is around the fact that face-to-face interviews, be it on site, be it in a live video interview like we are doing, they are typically expensive because they require time. If the people are traveling, you would have travel costs. You also have a lot of opportunity costs. Just think about how many interviews are there, how many interviews you have the hiring team, free up time which they could use spending on a customer or making a product better. And how many of these interviews you sit in front of a candidate where you've seen the CV and then the person sits in front of you and you say, no, it doesn't match on a personal level. They don't have the language skills they require. They don't have the depth of knowledge that they require. All these things, if you find this out in a face-to-face interview, then it's too late. You can make use of one-way video interviewing to really see, does the candidate only, cross the marks on paper, or is he actually as good as he appears to be, or she? And it also works the other way around. So if you think about it, there might be candidates who don't have such a convincing CV, but once you've seen them, pitching themselves personally, you get a completely different picture. Like I know with big companies, they have so many applicants, they need to somehow sort out candidates. But how often do you sort out people who would be actually great, who are the great ambassadors for your product, for your employer brand, and who you actually want to have and educate them further, to maybe close the skill gaps. So these kind of things you can uncover with video. And we talk about the better relationship with the hiring managers because, they get much quicker the information they need. And at the end of the day, we've seen companies save 60% and more of all the effort they typically spend on selecting candidates. So all the costs involved, all the time spent, we've seen companies, having only half the amount of assessment center days and all the costs attached to that. We've seen companies who got rid of telephone interviews altogether because they don't need them any longer. So video can create a lot of effectiveness across the whole talent life cycle. And on that note, I want to stress also the advantage for the candidate, because, another thing which is super nauseating is if you have to take a day of vacation in order to go to job interview or think of an excuse, it's uncomfortable. But if you have one-way video interviewing as part of a process, then your face-to-face interviews are definitely increase in value and they're actually worth taking. And also the candidates that come there have a good chance to actually get the job. So it's a good communication in all directions from my point of view.
No, and that's excellent, and certainly the points around time and efficiencies that are gained are very valuable. I can't tell you how many appointments I've had that were not really appointments to go off to interviews. So excellent.
And you finish the appointments, right? Because you don't want to risk a bad Glassdoor review. So even if you see in 3 minutes, hey, this is not a good match, you continue doing the half an hour, 1 hour, or 1.5 hours. So it's also a matter of good behavior.
Absolutely. When you think about HR teams and you think about their use of technology and how much technology has been added to their day-to-day lives, what are some of the things that these teams should know about video interviewing that they might not be aware of today?
So I guess you should think about the candidate experience end to end, and video has to be one part of it, but one part which can add value at each step of the process. So I guess the first thing you should do is put yourself into the shoes of the candidates. And we talked about it earlier a little bit. You should really imagine, if you really do it for the first time, you've never heard about video recruiting, play as dumb as you can get, get an old device, go somewhere with bad internet connection, and then really, play through the process and get a feeling, is that the way I want my company to be represented? Because, this is an early stage in recruiting lifecycle technology, so you better make a good impression there. If you want to have a first-class candidate experience, then there's no way around considering the process end to end. Because if you use video as part of a technology lifecycle like Phenom offers, then it's much less error prone, because think about it, how often ATSs get updates. You always have to, update all your solution. If you have everything in one tech stack, it's much easier. It's also much cheaper if you get it in a tech stack. Ask your IT department how difficult it is to maintain technical interfaces to various solutions. If you have this in one component, this is definitely a big advantage. So I guess what people underestimate is, to summarize it, the candidate experience, and really put yourself into the shoes of the candidates, and also the impact on the existing HR technology lifecycle.
Excellent. The job market and the talent expectations are changing so rapidly, and they continue to change at almost an unprecedented rate. People talk about the future of work, and I feel like the future of work is actually today. Is there anything that we can anticipate when it comes from video interviewing, and even the future of video interviewing? What are the long-term benefits?
No, absolutely. It's very evident. We talked about COVID and how this is changing the whole generations. How we communicate with each other. So there's no longer a video savvy generation and the video non-savvy generation. Nobody is terrified about videos any longer. So I anticipate video to become the #1 communication channel. We are already seeing it. So you will see much more that people can see short videos in the job ads of the companies. You can create video snippets. You can have very authentically your co-workers talk about the job, talk about the job opportunities, talk about career opportunities. And then obviously video will become a much easier way to present yourself. So there will be certain positions where the candidates love to send a video instead of a motivational letter. So I guess video as an application will become much more relevant. If you think about people working in sales, people working in consultant, their personality, the way they speak, this is how they sell themselves. So they don't need CVs or motivational letters. They want to pitch in a video, and then they're good. And I guess video messaging altogether will become even more normal. So we talked about candidate experience. So how cool of a candidate experience would it be if I not just applied via video, but also get in return a video of my potential manager, of the CEO of the company, just saying, hey, we've received your application, we love your video, you will hear back from us in the next 24 hours. Using video as a way to appreciate the efforts of your candidates will become the next game changer in the area of candidate experience.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, the power of video and the ability to engage and interact with each other, even us today, sitting here talking. I'm sitting in the Netherlands, and I think you're in Germany today. And so the ability for us to be able to see each other, talk to each other, it's absolutely amazing how cool video is.
If you think about it, we're not too far away from each other, but it would also work perfectly if you were in Canada right now, right? So
100%.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. So just a couple of takeaways to wrap up. We talked a little bit about the impact on the organizations, the efficiencies that can be gained through it, both on the candidate side and on the recruiter side and the hiring manager side. But I think ultimately, it doesn't compromise on user experience or support. It makes sure it allows you to automate processes as well too, so you can set it up so that it's not where you're constantly having to rewrite things or resend things. It involves the hiring managers. It asks them what they can expect from good candidates and what disqualifies the bad ones. So there's just a lot of other benefits that come with this as well too. So lots of conversation to continue to be had on this. You know, but I think at the end of the day, for me at least, when I look at it, and my whole career has been based on recruiting. It's all about that candidate experience, and what is that experience for that candidate, and how efficiently and quickly can you get them through that process while learning as much as you possibly can about them. So I want to thank you. I certainly know that you know, this is something that you've worked towards for quite some time. You're very passionate, obviously, about it. I think it's a great addition and continued growth of our platform here at Phenom. And so again, thank you for your time tonight. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I certainly appreciate you sharing your insights and knowledge with us and the rest of the group tonight. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for hosting me today. It's I can't get enough of the opportunities to talk about user experience, talent experience, and video recruiting. So, yeah, thank you for being such a nice fireside chatter.
Thanks, Sebastian.
Thanks, Luba and Husti. It was awesome to hear you talk all about video. As we know, video is taking over. JD, look at TikTok right now. It is running social media.
Have you seen my TikTok account?
I have not seen your TikTok account.
No one has seen, because I don't have it, but I enjoy TikTok.
It is important, and it's taking over. And I want to call back, bear with me, to day one, where Cliff talked a little bit about BlackBerry and how they sat on their loins as everyone else took over the cell phone market. When we look at video in talent acquisition today, you don't want to be sitting on your loins. You want to be attacking candidates where they are and meeting with them halfway. And video makes a tremendous impression, not just on your candidate experience, but also on your organization as a whole. It gets you to showcase who you truly are in that sense. A couple weeks ago, Husti's counterpart over in Germany, Bastian, we talked about how video is potentially killing the cover letter. The cover letter that I know my writers in the room are rolling their eyes because they absolutely love them. It gives their opportunity to showcase who they are. But truthfully, video is taking over, right? When we look for our news, we immediately go to video. When we go to social media, we go to video now. And it perhaps is killing the cover letter. So definitely something to keep in mind as we look towards the future and incorporating that into our tech stack. JD, any key takeaways that you picked up on?
My takeaway is if it recovers a cover letter, I'm not applying to it. So for all the recruiters there, I don't think you want to spend your time looking at a cover letter, but someone creates a video or participates in video interviewing or video assessments in some way, that's really easy to be engaged with and look at very quickly. So that I definitely appreciate where it's going. We should pause for a second. We should say thank you for all the viewers and sticking with us for day 3. If you're joining us on YouTube or on our LinkedIn live streams right now, unfortunately, you don't get access to all of our on-demand content, and you can't see what we did for day 1 and day 2, but there's still time to register. You can head all over to the phenom.com website, top banner. You get yourself to IAMHR, like the registration page. Register and you'll get instant access to both this live session that we're doing right now, as well as all of the on-demand content. So we appreciate it, but if you do want access to the content, you can get it. It's there for you. Feel free to take advantage of that. Also, a reminder, any of our customers who have registered and are joining us today, we have a day 3 exclusive customer workshop. We've had previous workshops on day 1 and 2. Now there's your day 3. So be sure to stay with us and get access to that workshop. That is also a live session. Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Yeah. So what is next? We want to continue the AI conversation, and we want to talk about demystifying AI. So Sean O'Donnell is going to work us through that and tell us really what it means. But as we get into it, Devin, I want to say is, when I think of demystifying AI, I think of where is it? Where is it helping me? What is it helping me do? People think they buy AI. You don't just buy AI. AI has to serve a purpose. What are you purchasing? What are you implementing? What purposes it is? And I will tell you, oftentimes fit score or candidate score is a hot topic. If I tell you, Devin, I'm a recruiter, what does fit score mean to me? What are you going to answer?
Well, Typically, I'd answer that's obviously grading someone's outfit, but that would be absolutely wrong. In the same sense as AI isn't something that you can turn on and turn off, right? When we talk about fit score, it's taking in key components such as location, years of experience, skills, and matching them up with jobs. Because as we know from the recruitment industry, most of the time candidates are applying to jobs that they may not quite be qualified for, or are taking a bit of a too big of a leap and they get lost within your CRM or in your ATS. So having AI in the background running those matches for you and serving them up to you on a daily, if not hourly basis, so that you can get in touch with them first before a competitor does or before another job does, really is going to help you out. And that's where the real power of fit score comes into play.
Yeah, and in fit score or candidate matching, it should be explainable. So you should be able to see why are candidates being matched in particular ways to that job, to that particular job. And guess what? If you don't like what's happening on the matching end, you should be able to change or modify that matching. And Sean's going to talk to us a little bit about that. But there's another thing. If I think of AI and I think of, how is it helping me? What about the discovery of candidates that I'm not aware of? Maybe they didn't apply. I don't see them in front of me. How can AI help discover candidates?
AI can help discover candidates because it's going to track them, right? In the same sense where if you were to log on to Amazon and look up a new water bottle, right? You may not purchase it the first time, but the next time you log on to Amazon to order detergent or whatever it may be, it'll probably serve up some of those things. AI is going to do the same thing for the candidate experience. We know on average, it takes a candidate anywhere between 4 to 8 times to complete an application. Over the course of time, that could be a month, 2 months, 6 months. But if you're able to track them early on in the process and begin to engage them with some content, you can perhaps speed that up or in fact bypass it altogether if you're able to get someone on the phone via some of that information as well. So that is where it is really helping throughout the funnel.
You have hundreds of thousands of potential good fits in your database today. Hundreds of thousands. Some companies have more. You're into the millions, right? But how can you possibly, as a recruiter or a sourcer, remember who the silver finalists were, who the bronze finalists were? And by the way, because the nature of the jobs change and the job requirements change and skills change, who was silver now or silver 6 months ago might be your gold fit, your A candidate, the perfect match that you're looking for. And you don't need them to apply again. You just need to know who they are and then engage with them. They're already there. So you need the ability to discover candidates who are the right fit within your database already known. But there's also another option, and that is discovering candidates that are out there in other databases, right? So cloud discovery or discovery. And we have that too. So Sean's going to break all of this down. We can't wait to hear from him. Sean, what do you have to say?
All right. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, however you're watching this. Hi, everybody. I'm Sean O'Donnell. I'm with the product management team here at Phenom and helping out with the AI stuff. So what I hope to do today is demystify a little bit about the AI that's in our platform and make it a little bit more practically understood for you. I'm not going to go into everything. I'm just going to focus on a few parts, but I think you'll enjoy it. So as we go into this, on this slide, I want you to think about how we take a holistic approach to AI. And really what we're trying to do here is find out what it is that humans do well and what computers do well and mix the two together. Okay, so as an example here, you can't see all the details, but this is how we approached our recruiter experience. We took everything that a recruiter does in a day and see where we can interject AI effectively in order to make that day go smoother, better, faster, awesomer. So we purpose-built our products for those experiences. So whether it's candidate experience, employee experience, recruiter experience, or manager experience, underneath it all, we have our platform, our Phenom AI as the layer to provide things like personalization, search, fit score, talent insights, and signals. And what we learn on one side, say from a manager experience, we can then use that knowledge over on the candidate experience or the employee experience. So it's all integrated and it's all on top of the AI layer. And this is really what makes our platform not only unique, but run and run well. So how did we get to this? Well, we took independently curated and sourced data and then made a baseline model, which we used to train all of our AI. So you can see there's some pretty impressive numbers. There's 1.1 billion candidates, 400 million jobs. Just on Help a Billion, we have 1 million jobs alone from all different places. We go out and we find the data, and we then draw conclusions, and we use that to train our AI. So out of the box, you're getting a very complete, very effective AI for you. And what I'm going to go into today is, where do you go up from there? What do you do in the AI system that trains the model on your personalized preferences, and how does that happen? Before we talk about that, we have to talk about what's the purpose of the AI. You know, a lot of people have a lot of different impressions of what AI is and what it isn't. But you know, as I showed you, it's throughout the platform, but you most commonly see it and you interface it in the AI discovery and our application fit score. So the intent of this AI is to optimize the recruiter and the manager and ultimately the candidate's time. And it allows you, from a recruiter experience, to focus on the top candidates. It's not picking the candidates for you. It's really just kind of bringing your attention to ones that the AI has found more not only interested, easier to hire, better suited for the job. So if I were to sum all that up, I would say, hi, I'm the AI, and I'm here to help you, not replace you. Getting to that root fear is the computer trying to take my job? No, absolutely not. We designed this with humans in the loop. It's supposed to work with you, not for you. Okay. So as I mentioned, there's AI working all over the platform. We're in the recruiter experience here, and everywhere there's a red arrow, there's an algorithm working behind that to generate some of this information and personalize it. But we're going to focus on the bottom right there, the fit score, and the top left, which is the AI discovery. One thing that makes our algorithms unique is that that human in the loop that I talked about. So we create, and I'll tell you about this on the next slide, the feedback loops. And they're very strong feedback loops that allows the machine to learn quickly and teach itself about how your AI needs to work for your enterprise. So we have two kinds of feedbacks: implicit feedback. That's to say that you know, if you had an A score and you move them along in the process, well, we know that that's a thumbs up, and we don't need anything explicit about that. But we do have these explicit feedbacks and learning activities that you, the human, do to personalize that AI. And that's the things like matching criteria, adding ideal candidates, giving a thumbs up and thumbs down to a fit score that you see, and adding or dismissing from the AI discovery. All of these things teach the machine more about how you like to hire, and it becomes hyper-personalized the more you use it. So as you can imagine, it's pretty complex. This is just a small part of the diagram that describes AI discovery. I took one section. I couldn't even fit the whole thing on this slide, but let's not worry about that. Let's try to simplify it for you. So what's the basic architecture? What are we doing here? We're just extracting a resume details. We're looking at the words, we're reading them, we're taking skills, titles, experience, and location. And we're doing the same thing in a job description. What are the skills you need? What's the title? What's the location? And what's the experience level you need? Then we're matching those, and then we're summarizing them to you in an easy and explainable way to do it. And that's what we call the application fit score. So as I said, we extract it, we display the score, and then we show you and explain to you which parts look good. And only 4 factors go into that. Again, the location, the experience, the title, and the skills. And then that's summarized in A, B, C fit, a no fit. But we also get in there incomplete profiles. So if a resume wasn't able to be parsed or somebody didn't complete their kind of candidate details, it'll let you know that. And of course, every once in a while, we get a resume in a language that we don't support yet, and we'll let you know that as well. So a little bit more detail into that. So again, we have the factors here. And what we use is natural language processing to pull out the skills and the titles. And we have this really robust ontology for both. And an ontology isn't just a word lookup. We're not just looking for if something is in a resume. We've learned how skills and titles relate to each other. And what we're looking for is words related to those words. So what's the difference between a program manager and a product manager? What's the difference between Java or Java 2 or JavaScript? These are things that we know in our ontology. And as we do this matching, we're comparing all of that. It's a very complex equation that happens there. And it's always constantly changing. So as we learn things about titles and skills, we change the value and the mix of what has more weight versus less weight. The titles and the skills are the main things, and then the weights that are the experience and the location. Because you could have somebody with a great previous title and a great amount of skills, but they're not in the location you need, and they don't necessarily have the experience level. That doesn't mean you don't want to consider them. You just maybe want to consider them less. So that's kind of in a nutshell how the fit score works. A lot of people ask about the skills specifically. What's the difference between a semantic match and exact match? And I just kind of try to illustrate that here. So if you make something a top skill in your matching criteria, if it's an exact match or a near exact match, it's going to get the most weight. And a semantic match would have slightly less weight, but you can see not that much less. It's relatively close. In the other skills, that weighting changes a little bit. So they're not as important. They're not as the top skills for that job. And we give different weightings for that. So that's what I mean is this dynamically shifts and changes based on the job family, the job title, and what skills you're looking for. Where does the human get in the loop here? That's where we go into the matching criteria and, of course, the ideal candidate. But I'll kind of show you here the matching criteria. So what happens is our job parser will go into a job description, and based on the title and the job family, we'll pick out the top skills from that job description and then rank them as top skills and non-top skills. You have the opportunity to go in there and clean it up, and you should. There may be skills that are not mentioned in the job description. You know, our parser can only work with what's in the job description, but you may want to add some skills. So you can go in there, you can add, we recommend up to 20. You can only allow for 7 max top skills, but this is very important and something where the human in the loop really makes a huge difference. And then, of course, the job location radius, so the circle around where the job is located, and the years of experience. Also very important to hone that down and make it as precise as possible. You do that, the machine learns, and it goes out there, and now it's ready to produce for you. So it's reading your candidates, your leads, it's giving them scores, and we're summarizing that all in the UI very simply. So you have your lead list, you have your fit score, you can hover over the fit score, you can see did the distance, did the experience, did the job title, did the skills match? If they did, how did they match? What skills matched? You can see in the middle, I have Java and Agile highlighted because those were the 2 skills that matched. They had 11 other similar or semantic skills, but those were the 2 exact matches. And then you have the opportunity to hover over and tell us and really teach us, is this a good fit score or is it not? And every time you tell us, is it too high? Is it too low? The skills aren't right. Maybe the location isn't right. Once we learn that, then we can better as time goes on. So we hope that that makes it all simple. Very simply, AI discovery, we take that model and then we reproduce it millions of times. So we go out there and look in jobs that you've had candidates for in other jobs, but they may not have applied or been a lead for this job. We want to bring those to your attention. And again, thousands, millions of candidates in some people's cases. The discovery's out there doing this all the time. We also have discoveries from the cloud. So people that may not even be in your CRM, but they're out there and they're looking. We can go out and find them based on this fit score and match them up. And you can either add them or dismiss them and reach out to them. So it's very important. And just as a little side metric on that, 40,000 times in the last 6 months across all of our clients, we found people that were not in a job. So whether it's through the cloud discovery or discovery in the CRM, we brought them to the recruiter and they said, man, this is a great candidate. I'm going to contact them. So it works and it works very well. What's really different between us and other folks is when we have this data, we can report to you the performances. So what we'll do is tell you what's the distribution throughout your hiring funnel that the fit score ranked. You know, how many AFITs were rejected, how many AFITs got to an interview. These are things you want to know, and things that we want to know so that we can tweak, change, learn, make it better for you, and get the results that you need, and make this a hyper personalized AI for you and your team. All right, so that's all I have today. I hope that was helpful. I know it was brief and quick, but you can always connect with me to go deeper. Happy to come to your organization and explain this to your recruiters or your managers. Sean.O'Donnell@phenompeople.com. I'm always available. So thanks for taking the time with me today, and I hope you all have a great day, weekend, week, whatever you're moving into. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Sean. I really enjoyed the session. I think one of the key takeaways from that was big data and the importance of it, and the importance of having good big data as well. Artificial intelligence, as we mentioned, is not something that you can turn on and just make your job easier. You really have to dive into it. But if you do, it can really bring you success. One of the key takeaways that Sean mentioned was that 40,000 candidates were found via AI of Phenom clients. I want folks at home to challenge themselves. Think of the events that you've gone to over the past year, whether it be virtual or perhaps in person. Think of all of the job postings that you have. Are you getting 40,000 candidates, and are they the right fit? Just because you have great or a ton of candidates from a specific event, are they fantastic? Sean mentioned that these 40,000 were fantastic, and recruiters were immediately picking up the phone and calling them and saying, hey, we need to get these individuals to work for us. So I love it. I love where AI is trending. I love that people are educating themselves on it as well, JD. It's no longer just a buzzword where someone can say it, throw it out there and say, hey, do you have AI? We're really looking for AI. People are asking the right questions where they're looking for that technology. They're asking about fit score and everything in between. JD, any key takeaways for you?
Yeah, I just think what I love about it is there's so much confusion out there on what AI does and doesn't do. And it's okay that there's that confusion, but there's just a lot of it. And Sean did a really nice job, if you play back his presentation, at helping you understand as a recruiter, as a sourcer, as a talent marketer, how should I expect AI to be applied to help me and to help me do what? Discover candidates. Discover which are the best fit candidates for the roles that we're sourcing for, that we're going after today. And that's so critical because it has such an amazing impact. But he also broke down, and what I was alluding to before his session started, he broke down how it's explainable and how you can actually see why AI feels and is displaying a particular candidate. And if you want to, you can go ahead and change that. And I think that is the human in the loop of the AI process, in particular to matching candidates or to candidate matching. And it's going to be different for every single customer. It's going to be different for, what industry you're in. So those contextual models of how AI is built across industries, across for example, what's the role of AI in high volume hiring? Because it is much different than knowledge workers and hiring knowledge workers. Its role is much different. And you have to have the right systems technology to do that, but it has to be easily understood by the folks using it. And so, Sean, thank you for that session. That's what I took from it. And I hope everyone took something that they can apply right away to it. So our day continues to roll. This is day 3, and it's all about the recruiter. And so once again, we're proud of that, and we still have sessions. So what's coming up?
JD, before we jump into the next session,
yes,
there was a lot of great information in Sean's presentation. And I want to give everyone a friendly reminder at home, whether you're joining us from LinkedIn or YouTube, if you're not registered and you want to rewatch that, or perhaps share it out with some of your colleagues who may be a little scared of AI and say, it's going to take our jobs. No, when you talk about human in the loop and how it's truly assisting recruiters and talent acquisition professionals at the day, you can still register at phenom.com/IAMHR-2021. If that's a little too complicated for you, I know it's too complicated for me, you can just go to phenom.com and click the banner at the top. JD, you asked me what's up next.
What is next?
What's next is all around big data. And Sean mentioned it. It's what powers AI, but really it's diving into data to really create that personal recruitment strategy. And we're going to be joined by Susie Michelle and Chelsea Gablerson. And I am excited to hear about how you can not only take data and apply it to AI, but then take data and really create those personal experiences that we're all jonesing for at the end of the day.
Yeah, they're going to talk about, you mentioned the building of that data-driven recruitment strategy. So, hey, we all have our recruitment strategies. We're all looking for that tip or that secret or that piece that can really help them, I don't know, smooth it out, give the last bit of polish, give them an edge. And that's really what they're going to be talking about. How does data make it a bit more personal? So using data, make it a little more personal to incorporating that recruitment strategy. It's going to be a good session. Let's see what they have to say.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our wonderful session about building a data-driven personal recruitment strategy. It's kind of a mouthful. I'm Susie Marshall. I am a training and learning specialist here at Phenom, and I will let my counterpart introduce herself.
Hi there. My name is Chelsea Gabrielson. I'm a customer success manager here at Phenom on the enterprise team.
Awesome. So what Chelsea and I are going to focus on during this session is really thinking about how we can make data-driven decisions as recruiters and really utilize the tools that Phenom has to offer your recruitment team to really get them ahead of the curve when they're making decisions, when they're communicating, and really defining their own strategies around how they want to bring candidates in and really get them through the funnel. So, Chelsea, you and I, we've talked a fair amount about this, but, in your position with customer success, you know better than I do. AI, that's something that we love to get our customers thinking about, specifically our tool AI Fit Score. So could you give a little insight into the pieces of that you suggest to your customers and that you've seen good impact with?
Yeah. So I think when it comes down to it, in TA, we're constantly balancing two main objectives. How can I make the best hire available? And how can I do that in the shortest amount of time? So our AI fit scoring is a way to really help the recruiter make faster and better candidate decisions. It does this by using criteria outlined in like the job title and skills, location and years of experience, and it's going to match it back to your candidate profiles, giving the recruiter a really easy A, B, or C score for the recruiter to reference. We love this because instead of having to start from square A, the matching criteria is already pulled from the job description that comes into Phenom, and the recruiter can edit that matching criteria based on the information you receive from like your intake call or feedback from like your initial set of candidates. We've seen a lot of progress being made with AI Fit Score to decrease the amount of time in a hire, and then of course, getting those high quality candidates as quickly as possible.
Yeah, which is always important because, at the end of the day, feedback loops, right? Like the faster you can get people into your hiring funnel, you get them through sort of the process, the faster you as a recruiter can be, back on the streets looking for more candidates and filling more roles. I love the idea of thinking of recruiters as like warriors. They're out on the streets. They're out, they're bringing people into your organization. They're the boots on the ground. So aside from, AI, aside from using, essentially machine learning in a lot of ways to qualify candidates and to put the best candidates possible in front of recruiters, it comes down to messaging, right? Chelsea, in your experience, like what tools, like what in the space of crafting, meaningful messaging, like what should they be doing and where should they be expanding those strategies?
Absolutely. So I think some of our customers do a really good job of making their content personal and using some of the data that we provide to really make those feedback loops with the candidate more impactful. But there are a few things that I always suggest. First, did you know that our Phenom templates actually offer personalization? This means that as a recruiter, you can create an email or an SMS template, so it's easily referenceable. You can add personalization, so you can automatically put information about the candidate in the email, and your candidates will start to receive impactful, personalized messages that, most importantly, is not going to require any additional lift for you as a recruiter. In addition to the personalization, I think it's really important to understand when we should be connecting with people. I know that as recruiters, we generally have an idea of when we think people are going to open their emails. But Phenom has taken a little bit of that guesswork out by giving some feedback information on our job peak visit times. So within talent analytics, we can start to see when people are connecting with your jobs. And that would be a really great time to start sending additional information to those candidates.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm really glad that you touched on talent analytics. I think it's important to, look at how recruiters are taking actions in the CRM. I know we focus a lot around getting into that platform and really making moves. It's all of the actions that are going to make efficiencies for the recruitment process, but it's also taking a step back and looking at the information that's coming in from those actions. So, what are the impacts of your campaigns? How are your jobs performing overall? Like what is happening at even the organizational level that you can identify some strategies that you can pull back in and utilize for yourself. One of the things that we also look at a lot is, like a really holistic view in terms of your hiring pipeline as well, correct? Like, how is your job category doing? Again, it's looking at your recruitment strategies as an individual at a broad level. And then sort of identifying those areas of success and selfishly taking them for yourself, which is really amazing. There's also analytics available within the CRM platform, right at the fingertips of our recruiters. Job analytics, there's information around your own email conversion, if your job is being included in other campaigns from Phenom, and, just in general, the health of your requisitions. So as a recruiter, you're making those decisions thoughtfully, and, strategically. Something that I'm always curious about, and this is a pretty common question for probably both of our roles, Chelsea, is, what are some ideas around how to really engage with candidates? Like, where should recruiters start with their communications? Like, what are some best practices that you like to reserve for our, for customers and to give them some ideas?
Well, absolutely. So my favorite place to start is with our partial applicants. So in the Phenom system, when you have a hosted apply, you're going to see anybody who started the apply process and didn't finish it. Those are candidates who are super interested in your job and they want to move forward. They just need some more nudging. So going into the CRM and start targeting your partial applicants, you'll start to see more of a return on your application activity. I would also say that in modern recruiting, we leverage data, personalization, and targeted communications to help build relationships and draw a response from candidates. In order to do that, we have some additional data that is stored within Phenom. Like, you can use your commonly asked questions through our chatbot to create additional campaigning content. This means that you're taking information that your candidates are already researching and they're interested in, and you're creating targeted campaigns to get more people interested in your jobs.
What's funny is that I feel like we talk about chatbot as a tool for really like varying levels of the funnel. It's one of those silent but deadly tools that like you can really utilize it really towards any of your goals as an organization. And it really does provide information for the individual depending on what they're trying to do. So that's really great insight. I think the creativity around not just doing your same old song and dance too, right? It's not just doing your standard, like, thank you for applying email. Hey, you didn't finish your application. Can you please do that? Because that helps me. It's expanding that content into what I think eventually becomes loyalty, right? We've seen a lot of information around how your candidates are actually customers a lot of the time. They're coming to your site because they have some level of comfort or loyalty to your brand or to your to the space that you work in. So you might as well provide them an experience that they can connect with, and then they want to continue to engage with. Your employees are are again your best ambassadors. So why not get your ambassadors in the door as employees? Chelsea, did we have anything else we really wanted to cover? I think we actually hit really all of our main points. Primarily it's focusing on your AI, really utilizing those tools for matching criteria, your job descriptions, trying to get the best quality candidates in, as soon as possible at the top of your funnel. And then really you provided a lot of really great ideas around crafting some good messaging. Because at the end of the day, like if you don't engage with candidates, they're never going to apply. But did you have any final notes before we end the session for today?
Yeah, just a few. So in this session, we talked a lot about just a high-level overview. We are very aware that there are different recruiting tactics across the country and across the world. So we have linked some additional information on things like high volume recruiting, corporate recruiting, RPO recruiting. Every piece of recruiting has its own intricacies. And the Phenom platform has already provided trainings on those. So I would recommend definitely checking out the LMS library and better understanding some of the tools we have provided to really get creative and start building the candidate relationships.
Awesome. Thanks, Chelsea. That's a great call out. But I think that's it for today. Thanks everyone for attending our session, and we appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you at our next IAMHR.
Susie, Chelsea, thank you so much for bringing us back. What I loved about your session is you really talked about becoming a modern recruiter. And I think that's what today was all about, Devin. It was about how do you evolve? I think I said revolve before. That's the beauty about being live. You mess up and then you can have everyone tell you said it wrong, which I actually find enjoyable. But evolve, we talked about the evolved recruiter, the modern recruiter. The one thing that Phenom does offer is we offer the ability for folks to be certified, actually to get training and get certification to show that they are in fact an evolved recruiter, right? Or a modern recruiter, understanding the ability to implement and leverage AI tactics, talent marketing tactics, sending campaigns out, learning text campaigns, learning the ability to do bot campaigns and chatbots and stuff. So I think that was a pretty good summary of not only a bit of a recap of the day about recruitment, but also a good, about how to take that kind of data-driven or personal approach. But what did you take away from it?
Well, JD, I completely agree. There is an evolution for every job, and recruiters are no different, right? So by partaking in these sessions and seeing what that next step in the evolution is truthfully important. The one key takeaway that I did have was Susie said, what's funny? And then she started talking about chatbots. There's no funny business with chatbots. They stressed a lot about partial applications. And that is a huge way to get insights onto what your candidates are looking for, how to stand out of a crowd by not saying, hey, you only filled out part of your application. Do you want to complete it? Yeah. Maybe it's, oh, look, you dropped this. Here's the rest of your application. Something to stand outside of the box and really scratching that creativity. Also changing your standards. What worked yesterday may not work today. It's always good to reinvent yourself slightly to see how the candidate market is changing, especially in such a tight labor market today. So I loved both of those. JD, you mentioned you had a little snafu there with Revolve. I had my own. I won't repeat it on air, but if you want to catch it, feel free to register because you can watch this entire day on demand at IAMHR. The landing page and registration link there. So JD, I'll hand it back over to you. Maybe we'll talk a little about our customer sessions that are coming up later today, as well as tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's so the snafu Devin's talking about. I think it's pretty funny. He talks about, I will say it, loins versus laurels, sitting on your loins versus sitting on your laurels. This is always fun, and that's why we have a good time with everyone. We're okay to let our personalities come out and our mistakes come out. But we heard some pretty great customer-driven stories, practitioner-driven stories today. We did hear from Thermo Fisher Scientific, and that was around booking interviews faster with automation. We're always trying to do interviews today. They're having amazing results with automating that interview scheduling process. And Derek Murphy from KinderCare Education really talked to us about putting on an automating event. So what was he talking about with automating events? He was talking about the ability to take all the interactions and traffic from a career site that's then fed into the CRM that then you build campaigns around and you get that out and create events to get those candidates engaged and to get them eventually to apply, and also to use technology, Devin, to get feedback and to get information, regardless of whether the person or individual connected and came to that event or not, still get their feedback. So it's two of the, I think, pretty big customer stories. Benoit kicked off the day, right? Benoit kicked off the day, and he talked about kind of the augmented recruiter, and that's around using AI automation and evolving the recruitment process. What else did we hit?
Luba and Husti talked a lot about video, which is fantastic. I think it's the next step in that evolution that you talked about before. AI and automation are no longer nice to haves, they're needs to haves. And we covered that throughout the day. But video is going to be that next need to have. So you want to be ahead of the curve. And tomorrow, I'm excited because we talked a lot about data today. Tomorrow, we're talking about the manager experience and how you can dive into some of that data. What are some of the sessions we're covering tomorrow?
Well, tomorrow is all about, as Devin said, the manager experience. And, you know, there's key parts of that. But what's interesting is I think managers or hiring managers, that is an entire population, a very large population in time that recruiters spend trying to communicate, trying to collaborate with. And in doing so, there's very little tools on the market today or you know, tools that facilitate a better communication in how to get hiring managers involved in the process. And in some organizations, it's simply a collaboration between recruiter and hiring manager, a better process, better feedback loops, ability to see talent, and to ask recruiters, hey, here's a candidate I'd like to meet with most, or recruiters being able to say, hey, can you give me feedback? Can I get it in real time from the interview? But there's another aspect of it. There's another aspect because there's different models. And if you're in a model that like you're in a franchise model, well, franchises, there's individuals that we would call managers or hiring managers that have very little support from recruitment teams. They have some support, but very little. They have to do the hiring too. So these are the aspects we're going to start looking at tomorrow. We're going to look at all the tools, practices about, you know, looking at pipelining and interactions with hiring managers. We're going to look at the ability for managers, franchisees to actually do the hiring themselves or tools that they can do that. And there's more, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's about getting recruiters and hiring managers on the same page, as you mentioned. There's a session, I believe, yesterday where we talked a little bit about the differences between JavaScript and what was the other one? Python, JD.
Yes.
And that's oftentimes what happens with recruiters and hiring managers is they're talking different languages. We're also going to talk about the secret to improving collaboration between the two, right? Oftentimes, I know from when I was a recruiter, hiring manager would say, hey, I need someone just like Sally Mae or just like Joe Schmo, whoever it may be. They're a real A player. What does that mean to a recruiter? Does that mean their experience, their skills, their personality, their background or professional experience as well? It's really about diving into that and speaking that same language and getting on the same page.
Yeah, and you're going to hear from customers and brands again, like Radian. So we have Jen Bombardier from Radian, and she's the VP of People Operations. It's actually Radian Group. And so she's going to talk about what it takes to turn into a talent advisor. What is a talent advisor? What does it take to turn into one? So we've got some pretty cool and unique sessions for tomorrow. And that's not all for today, right? Today is a reminder for our customers. In just a few minutes, the exclusive customer workshop begins. Please take advantage of that. It's a very interactive session. And again, it's a live session. So I think we got to send it off, Devin. So from Devin Foster, from JD, from everyone here at Phenom, thanks for joining us on day 3. We really appreciate it. And we hope you come back tomorrow for manager experience to close out IAMHR 2021.